What's going on, everybody? It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and today I wanted to touch on the Division franchise, the ending to Season 4, the future, and any new content we should expect. You know, that sort of thing. But before we begin today's video, if you haven't yet smashed that sub button, please do so. And don't forget to ring the bell to receive all future notifications from my YouTube channel. You can also really help out the channel by watching this entire video, rating and or sharing the video, and of course, leaving a comment. All right, let's begin. Was really the only scripted portion of this video. I'm going to attempt to do this all off the top of my head. I don't normally specialize or put out these unscripted videos, but when I have in the past, I've received positive feedback. You guys kind of like it when I shoot from the hip, when I just kind of let it fly, talk from the heart, put my emotions and my feelings out there. And I've got a lot of things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to turn this into a 30-minute session. So why don't we just dive in? I have some bullet points here. First thing I wanted to talk about is what we saw on Tuesday. And of course, I'm speaking about the end of Season 4 and what I felt was a disastrous scripting or ending to the Faye plot line or saga or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we've been building to this moment for months. We've been through all of these different Manhunt targets, always knowing that Faye was the end of this track of seasons, these Manhunt targets. We saw Faye turn at the end of the Aaron Keener cutscene, so we know she was part of the BTSU. We've heard her on the comms. We knew what was coming. We also had this rather misleading Season 4 trailer, which shows Kelso about to punch Faye in the face. Well, none of that is in this final battle. And essentially what we got was 4 comms and an echo. And that was it. The battle itself was laughable. I mean, I'm just going to say it. You know, I'm calling a spade here. It was laughable. We shot the rotors on the helicopter. Faye jumped out. We tore into her. In maybe 20 seconds, she was down. Even on heroic difficulty, she yelled a couple of scripted lines at me, even while, you know, taking rockets to the face, and then just died. I'm going to switch gears off of that because I've already produced a video on that. That came out on Tuesday, and in case you want to see it, I'll leave a link to it in the video description below, and it says "not like this." What I felt happened to Faye was completely inappropriate. Almost like the disrespect that was shown when we had Aaron Keener, who was given an entire final battle, tons of comm chatter, tons of kind of unique things going on in his battle on Liberty Island, where we had Razorback come down and then he's hacking into the drones. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there, and plus that whole end cutscene, whereas Faye got none of that. But anyway, I know there's a lot of speculation that there's a possibility of a continuation of the Faye storyline, and that's based on the fact that when you do kill her, or supposedly kill her, or you know what I'm saying, when she's down on the ground, that Isaac doesn't come on and give you that typical command of or that voice comm that rogue agent is down or rogue agent terminated or something like that. And that's entirely possible. Don't get me wrong. I can't confirm or deny any of that. At this point in time, because we've seen so many issues with these updates, we've seen so many things breaking, I'm still having constant PC crashes. I attempted to stream the game yesterday. It is still just blowing me out of the game after 3 minutes. Like, if none of this existed, if all of these updates were working perfectly, etc., 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 then I would have the confidence to kind of buy into that theory and say, you know what? The fact that Isaac did not confirm that Faye was down, maybe that is a very viable theory. But after what I've seen as far as the title update and how just terribly it launched, especially for those of us on PC, my confidence isn't quite there to even say that. I mean, the fact that Isaac did not confirm that Faye was down, that could have just been a complete coding oversight. And hopefully you understand what I'm saying here is, maybe it was meant to happen, and just that sound file was never put into the game. You know what I'm saying? It was never put into the game because somebody forgot to put it into the game. Who knows at this point? Like I said, if everything had been going perfectly through these title updates, everything had been, conveyed over to us as it's going to happen like this, and then when it was installed, it actually happened like that, that would be one thing. But at this point, my confidence is rather wavering with Massive's ability to install a title update and do so in a complete and fully functional method. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone over there. I'm not a coder. I'm not a developer. I don't work for a studio, so I don't know what goes into that. But, you know, I'm just taking this as a 30,000-foot view looking down on the quality of the product. And the quality of the product right now is rather shaky. And at times it's been shaky in the past, but it's really shaky right now, especially if you play on PC. So I don't want to turn this into a what could have been, what should have been with the end of Season 4. My feelings are out there. I don't think that was handled anywhere like it should have been, what it could have been, what Faye deserved. But what I want to talk about is where we've been coming from in terms of content and the cancellation of content, and the last major time we received any content, which was Woney. But if you look back in the past, we were supposed to have a Kinley College Nightmare, codename Nightmare event. That was canceled due to the pandemic. What we got in its place was a reimagined global event, Reanimate. Kind of interesting, but still a lot of to-do lists. Go out and burn this many, kill this many Reanimated. It's just a checklist of things to do. Now, I played that event because I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I wanted the Hunk Vanity outfit. I got it, and I just moved on. But we have not seen any major content in a game that is entirely built on narrative content, whereas Division 1 was built on replayable content. Division 2 is built on narrative content, and there's only so many times we can play Pathway Park and Stranded Tanker, etc., etc. We need content in this game, and we have not seen any content in this game other than the recycling of current missions hammered into these checklists for these seasons, and then, of course, the manhunts, which are now over. And, yeah, where do we go from here, right? So what I want to concentrate on is, number one, we've seen that there's a lot of theories out there that Red Storm is going to be spearheading Year 3 content. Once again, I can't confirm or deny that. I have no information. I need more than Red Storm just turning their Twitter banner over to a rogue symbol for me to really buy into that and be able to report something concrete and substantial there. But what I do want to talk about is this kind of interesting, and it kind of flew under the radar unless you know really what you're looking at, is the fact that on Tuesday, Ubisoft had their quarterly statement, investor call, where they put out a bunch of rather, I guess I would call it interesting information. It can be rather boring, though, if you're just kind of looking at it. But anyway, they put it out there. They show everyone and their investors, especially their investors, how much they're making. And they made a boatload of cash in this quarter. Based on the fact that Valhalla sales were really strong. And I'd like to mention, in case you never played this game, Immortals Phoenix Rising. I actually did a review on it. I got an early copy and did it. That game really flew under the radar and caught the entire gaming community kind of by surprise. Kind of like a Zelda Breath of the Wild light version game, but still a really well done game. No one kind of expected that. Anyway, the sales were really strong on that. And as I looked over the quarterly statements, and of course they're listing out how much money they made, they're talking about Just Dance, they're talking about the Assassin's Creed games are still selling well. Rainbow Six Siege is still selling well. Apparently they have something like 70 million players registered since its launch. I mean, they've got some titles that are still really kicking, and if you are into one of those games, like I'm into Assassin's Creed, I know a lot of you are out there into RS6, those games are still really strong. But what I did not see mentioned anywhere in this quarterly statement of earnings, or even just mentioned, was anything to do with the Division franchise. I will read part of this for you, and this was from a Frederick, I can't say his last name. He's the CFO, and he commented, "The quarter was marked by the success of Just Dance 2021 and excellent reviews for Immortal Phoenix Rising and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The latter delivered record sales and ranked with Watch Dogs Legion among the top 4 best sellers on the new generation consoles. Our back catalog also turned in a remarkable performance with record momentum for our Assassin's Creed titles, solid growth of the Far Cry franchise, and strong increase in engagement and revenues for the Crew brand and our free-to-play game Brawlhalla. We're also reaping the benefits of the Switch's huge success of our position as leading third-party publisher on that platform, thanks to, among others, our Just Dance games and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The depth and breadth of our catalog, which goes beyond the brands mentioned, provides us with ever greater visibility and continues to be a strong driver of profitability. Now, I'll leave a link to this entire quarterly statement down in the link below, in the comment section below, if you want to take a look at it. But just think about what I just said there, and think about the titles that were mentioned, and think about the title, The Division, which was not mentioned. I mean, they touched on everything in here. There's also some comments from Yves Guillemot, who was on the call, and he speaks live on the call. And you got to put in your information, and then you can actually listen to a recording of the call. But he talks about mobile titles, things like that. Notice the titles that they mention in there: Immortals Phoenix Rising, Assassin's Creed across the board, Watch Dogs Legion, and then Far Cry, which we know Far Cry 6 is coming, and then The Crew, and Brawlhalla. Now, I don't play The Crew or Brawlhalla, but those are titles that have been out for a while. And notice that the IP that is not mentioned is The Division. There's nothing mentioned about The Division in here. Now, disclaimer. Later on, if you listen to the recording, an investor actually throws some questions out there. And one of the questions was, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, what is the future of The Division? And that's where and reports are it was Yves Guillemot. A lot of the French accents kind of sound the same to me, but I'm pretty sure it was him speaking. He does disclose that new content is coming for The Division both in 2021 and 2022. But I don't see anything mentioned, not a peep, about The Division, and anywhere on the 8 pages of this financial quarterly statement, quarter 3, nothing is mentioned for it. So nothing is mentioned in the actual press release of The Division, but Guillemot goes on and says, yeah, we've got content coming in 2021 and 2022. And so I start to look at that, and of course the gears start to turn in my head, and I'm like, well, what new content can we get? And I'm basing everything I'm about to say on what we've seen not come our way and canceled in the past. I mean, a reimagine of Kinley College was nixed because of the pandemic, because of, I guess they just didn't have the resources to get it done. So what new content would be coming our way in 2021 or 2022? Well, certainly we could see more seasons. We could see more global events. Those seem pretty easy to throw together. You just got to attach a global event, come up with some graphics, put together a checklist, and then just unleash it out there, and away you go. Kind of like what they've been doing with the Division 1, even to this day, is in order to keep it alive, they've got, the recycling of the global events. That is entirely a possibility, and you need to be prepared for that if that happens. Do I see any major content coming in the near future for the Division 2? No, I don't. I know that in this press release, they also say that, and I think Eve mentions is that Massive is, no pun intended, a massive studio. They certainly have the resources to keep a Star Wars, development going, and to simultaneously finish up with Avatar, and to to keep content and production for the Division 2. I know what was said. I've also been on investor calls before where, this is part pep rally, part financial disclosure, and you got to take some of these things with a grain of salt. New content could be anything from a vanity apparel event to a season to an entirely new expansion. That is possible, but I don't see that happening anytime soon for the Division. So I know there's a lot of speculation out in the community. I've watched some videos. I watched Epic Slayers. He's always on the positive side. I always try to take a more average, middle ground side to this. And I just want to say that any new content that we may see in the next 3, 6, 7 months even, that it may just be recycling of what we've seen. It may just be vanity events. It may just be seasons. It may just be all these things that you don't want it to be. And I don't want people's I want you to stay hopeful, because I'm always hopeful for this franchise. I'm always hopeful that eventually they'll get it kind of turned in the right direction. And what's the right direction? Well, for me, it's the direction that I want to see the game go. And just like the right direction for you is the direction you want to see the game go. We'd all love to see a PvP revamp, a brand new reimagined Dark Zone. Looks like they turned all of Woney into a Dark Zone and put 50 players in there, and everyone just goes ham on each other. We'd like to see a complete new area. What were these Langley reports? What exactly, were they just there in the game, or are they actually tied to an area? Who knows any of this? But the fact that when I look at this quarterly report, and once again, I encourage you to take a look at it, there's nothing listed from the Division in there. There's no, hey, we expect new content for the Division coming in 2021 with a brand new expansion and new PvP, and then, it's going to continue into 2022. There's not a peep about the Division in here. Brawlhalla is mentioned. Mario Rabbids is mentioned. The Crew is mentioned. Far Cry, which Far Cry 6 has been pushed back and pushed back. All of these titles are mentioned, but the Division is not in here. It took an investor actually asking these questions on this live call. Basically, the question was, hey, with this Star Wars going on, with Avatar going on, what's the future of the Division? Are you going to be able to continue this on? And then this statement kind of comes flying out. Yeah, we got content coming in 2021 and 2022. Once again, temper your expectations with this. We've seen a reimagine of Kinley canceled. We saw this kind of dumbed down, for lack of a better term, Resident Evil apparel event. So if Kinley reimagined, which was announced way before they finally canceled it, if that was canceled, I wouldn't expect anything like huge to come out. I'm not expecting a Woney-sized expansion to come hitting us in the face in a month's time or something like that. If anything, if we get like a big content drop, I'm thinking, I don't know, late this year, maybe next year. So just once again, I really encourage you to look at this report. I really encourage you to actually listen. In this link, there's an actual way that you can listen to the call as they speak. And take this with a grain of salt. Like I said, I've been on investor calls before. They're part pep rally, where it's rah, 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 because they want people to invest in the company, because that's going to drive up the stock prices. And then there's also this boring aspect where they just kind of label out, this is how much we made, this is the taxable income, net bookings, this kind of thing. Okay, so take that all with a grain of salt. Do I see a future for the franchise? I do. Is Red Storm involved in it? I don't know. Did we see the end of Faye Lau? Once again, I don't know. Was that a coding error, or was that really the way that Faye Lau goes down? If that case, she was done real dirty. And on top of that, when are we going to see content? Who knows? But based on what I'm seeing, based on kind of this impromptu, vocalization on this call from Eve, I don't even know when we would see a real content drop, if it would be late this year or even next year. Who knows? Fingers crossed, but who knows? So this is probably a great place to end up this video. And as always, I encourage you to leave your feedback down in the comments section below. I do my best to answer and respond to as much feedback as I have time for. If you haven't yet done so, please smash that sub button for intensive Division content. And don't forget to ring the bell to never miss a future upload notification from my YouTube channel. If you liked the video or you did not like the video, please take the time to rate the video. If you want to support my content creation outside of YouTube, links to my Patreon and Teespring, both in the video description. Don't forget to follow me over on Twitch for weekly Division streams, and you can also follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts on most things concerning games. And until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.